Welcome, everybody, back into the Echo Chamber, where we're discussing our thoughts and feelings as we play through Echoes of Wisdom. Gooey, Corey, and McKenna here. And we're now shifting over to the Sandland. Little Mario 64 reference in there for everybody.
Shifting Sandlands.
So, yeah, the other early dungeon here that you get the option to go check out is in the Gerudo Desert. So, let's just talk about that region in general. Well, first of all, Corey, I guess I gotta know how you entered the desert. I'm guessing it's not from the normal way.
Corey's path check.
Relatively normal compared to some of the other ones, because I couldn't resist myself. You know, you go through kind of like the same way you get into that area in like A Link to the Past or A Link Between Worlds, where it's like the southwest, you kind of enter from the little eastern path.
Mm-hmm.
I got there, and instead of going into the desert and going through to the little oasis, I immediately hopped up on the cliff and followed the cliffside all along the northern border. But then once I got to the end of that, I was like, no. Don't go down from here. Just go back. See what it wants you to do. Because you're probably gonna miss a little outpost or something. And sure enough, I went back and found the oasis and talked to the people there, and I was like, okay, this was the play. This was the right move. Because I saw where Gerudo Town or Gerudo City was, and I was like, don't go in there yet. Just wait. Because they're gonna have you go there.
I like that sort of opportunity this game provides you, where you can go, let's see what they want me to do. And I usually follow that. And you know, it usually, I hate to say it, but I feel like I usually have a better time that way, though I like having the ability to break out on some tangent if I see something that I want to check out, you know. So I kind of gotta walk that line, you know. But McKenna, did you do this the appropriate way, the way they intended?
The intended way. Yeah, I went into the desert, found a stamp.
Hey, there you go.
Found the oasis.
Classic.
Did the oasis mango game?
The mango mini
yeah.
game.
The mango mini
like
game.
that.
Yeah, I was like, all right. I saw the fan in there, and I was like, all right, I gotta get this before I do anything else. And then I was like, all right, I just have this fan in my inventory. I wonder what that's for.
It'll be useful someday.
That might come up later.
The mango game was really fun, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
A great reason to just spin around as Zelda.
Yeah, that was really fun. I like doing all the different levels of that.
I saw someone use like what echoes?
They used the plat boom.
Yeah.
The plat boom is kind of overpowered, actually, and I didn't get it till much later.
I still don't have it.
Boom.
I don't have it.
The platform that
with the eyeball?
Yeah. So
Yeah. Okay.
someone was placing one on like the top part where there's where like a group of them grows, a group of the mangoes, and so when they popped up, they just go near it and it comes down and crushes them all.
That's clever.
You don't have to go up there at all.
That's really clever.
Makes it way easier.
Also, just with this is more to our last episode, but I saw someone, you can cheese the water dungeon with the plat boom. Like when you get the thing going a little bit, you can do the plat boom and it'll take you all the way up to the top. Yeah. So that's one cool thing about that dungeon that I forgot to mention, but I do like that. I like that you can kind of cheese the whole dungeon.
Can you just go right to the boss then?
Yeah, you still have to go. There's like a way you have to go get the boss key, but you can get to it pretty easily. So mango mini game was cool. Plat boom or no, but also just I feel like when you're out in the desert itself, okay, so each area, you've got your kind of like puzzles and like mechanics and echoes you're being taught about, and I felt like there was a lot going on in the desert, compared to the Zora region. Like, we talked about a couple crucial echoes there, even getting one that might be an MVP, but I feel like in here I was getting a lot of, some of the things did similar stuff, but it was like you got the tornado guys, you got the fans, you got the little mole guys, the platforms, the little blade trap thingies, the
Gibdos and
Redeads.
Yeah, both.
Yeah, there was like a lot of echoes to get, and this is where I really started, because like I said, I was kind of following the path, and this was where I started more deeply like exploring a region, where I started to go like kind of on the edges, like you were talking about, Corey, because I felt like, so maybe it's more to do with how I explored, but I don't know, I just felt like there was a lot of cool stuff going on between the wind stuff and like the tiles that you can do stuff with. Like, it was neat. It was pretty neat. What was everyone's like? Corey, you can go first. Like, what was your favorite like echo or like game mechanic that you encountered in this area?
Well, you just mentioned it. I don't remember if you. I think you get it later. I don't know if you get it in the dungeon or if you get it in one of the sections during the lead up to the dungeon. But the flying tiles, it quickly became one of my most used, because they're so useful for traversal. Because you can set them in any direction you want. You just send one, jump on it, and it goes so much faster than like walking or spinning. And I also started using it a lot. They're super useful in the still world sections, because it's like it's ones where it's like, oh, there's an island here and an island here, and you gotta like jump between a couple trees or something. I started tile diagonally, and you can basically just hop from area to area.
Wait, sorry, Corey, you cut off there for a second. You want to go back just a little bit, and say what you're saying?
Yeah, I was saying, like, the flying tiles are so useful in the still world sections,
right,
because it's like where you have like one island and then another island, and it's like, oh, you gotta hop between a few trees and jump on these platforms. I started being like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna put a flying tile diagonal and just go straight to it. And it made it super, especially like if one's like that where you're really high up, instead of going all the way back down the way you came, you can just be like, no, I'm gonna like cut the corner and like jump down. And I don't know, they became super useful for me, both for traversal and just sending them flying at enemies, because it's just a point and shoot, projectile almost.
I wish I had picked up on them earlier as a means of traversal. I don't know why I just like didn't use them as often, and then more recently I have, but I feel like I almost have this feeling of like, I wish I was doing this sooner. It's like so fun.
You can also, if you're very quick with it, it's very precarious, but you can like kind of summon one as you're jumping up, and almost, if you're very efficient with it, you can use them almost as like infinite steps, because every time you spawn one, it comes out and then it raises just a little bit. So each time you're getting slightly more height, and you're only summoning one at a time. So as long as you're like very efficient with the way that you do it, like you can use it to get real high up.
That's pretty sweet.
And the main one that one I used a lot just in general for like my gameplay style, but the one that I found myself using the most in terms of like the theme of the area was the little mole guy, the digging guy.
Okay, yeah. McKenna, how about you? Did you have a MVE?
I don't know. I will say I think I used the flying tiles once for a side quest. And but that's cool. I'm excited for a replay where I get to try out echoes that I didn't use before. I think that's one thing that this game has definitely done really well. I've seen lots of people using totally different strategies than I have.
I know. It makes me want to replay the game and like do it a different way, you know? Like, yeah.
Maybe I don't know if there was any one in particular, but one that I guess I associate with the area is the little like wind machine. I forget what it's called.
Sure, yeah, and the little it's like
I don't remember what it's called either.
I
That's super useful
remember,
for getting rid of those sand dunes, though, the little sand piles.
yeah, as soon as I got it and was just in the desert, I ran around the whole desert and got rid of every pile that I saw to see what was buried.
like a classic satisfying Zelda activity. I feel like Tears of the Kingdom. I spent some time doing that.
Yeah, Skyward Sword I definitely think of with that.
It's the ultimate.
Yeah, same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the closest we've gotten to Gus Bellows, sort of, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, really, really cool stuff going on. We talk about the Oasis, which is very cool vibe, but then then there's this whole sort of storyline with Gerudo City, and like also having to like like the other ones, you sort of have to win over the people to like go and do the quest for them. But McKenna, what was your impression of Gerudo City?
It's a nice little city.
Yeah,
I feel like maybe there's not as much to do there as I thought or hoped there might be. Um, but I like the characters. I'm glad to see the Gerudo in another game after the wild area. Good sign that they're back in the series as a mainstay. They were gone for a while.
they gotta be back.
They're back. There's the daughter, the chief's daughter, whose name I don't remember anybody's name right now.
I don't remember any character's name.
I got him pulled up. The chief's name is Sierra. Her daughter's name is Donna, and the advisor lady's name is Facette or something.
Yeah, I remember Facette. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like this little like almost friendship thing that Donna and Zelda got going. Like they just meet each other and Donna's like, "Yeah, I trust you. You're gonna help us out. Like go talk to my mom. We'll figure this out." And then you gotta do a little trust exercise where you go to the rifts in the area. None of which Tri can access, which I thought was a little strange because I don't think that happens anywhere else in the game. Like, except, or maybe, you gotta do a quest first, but she's pretty much always able to access the rifts.
I thought it had to be from like specific points or something, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember the explanation. I was just like, okay,
Not clear.
Yeah, sounds fine.
We went to
side note. I was kind of hoping that the whole still world and the rifts and stuff. I was kind of hoping it was going to be a little bit more of a fluid traversal back and forth thing, and it quickly became apparent in this game. Like, no, it's just a once it's available story unlocked thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like Dark World portals in A Link to the Past, or like traveling back and forth in time in Oracles. It's like once you're available, once the story says you can get into this specific rift, you can get into this specific rift, you know?
Yeah. I think pretty early on I had this like, oh, it's basically like not exactly like this, but it's functions similar to like doing a shrine or something in the last two games, where it's like you just kind of go into this area and it's like its own little one-off challenge, and it's sort of disconnected from the world, even though it's technically connected. And it's like separate. Do your own thing there. It's not like there's I don't know.
Even those games though, it's like you can, whenever you want, if you find a shrine, you can do the shrine. But in this, it's some of them don't open up until this point in the story.
Yeah. There are some that are just like sitting out there, and it's like you can or can't do them. But they I get what you're saying for sure. I did like this story though. It was like they all have kind of like a similar like theme. I like sort of the different areas have like a similar theme, but like a different flavor of the story. And it I don't know, it kind of reminds me of, it makes me think of Ocarina of Time, on how each, in the first three dungeons, each of the different stories kind of have a different tone to them. You have sort of, there's your childhood home and your sort of the father figure and your friends and family. You have the Goron thing is like a brotherhood, and then there's sort of a sort of romantic type thing going on with the Zoras or whatever, but they all they all pertain to like, and then when you see them again later, they all sort of pertain to like growing up, becoming a man or whatever, going from a little boy to a man, and how your relationships with those different things change. And I like this. They all have kind of a story about like, maybe it's pretty straightforward to say, but it's just like they're about like binding, connection,
bonding and reverse binding.
And so I like that in all of these stories. You sort of you kind of meet people in the different areas who have these sort of opposing points, but they actually have like this actual bond to each other, and you have to kind of like go through and watch them overcome that. So I thought the story here, it was pretty sweet, and it was kind of fun to go on the little different missions. So whatever, I didn't understand the rift thing, but the story was cute.
I think I'm liking the Gerudo more and more in each, kind of like you said about the Zoro McKenna. That's how I'm feeling about the Gerudo every time I see them in games nowadays. Like, I love them in Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and this, and especially in this, I love the character designs, and the individual Gerudo characters that we get are so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like the Sira and Dona thing. It's cool because it's almost like a similar but slightly different dynamic to like an Urbosa and Riju, because you kind of get to see them interacting together at the same time, and it's not so much like Dona having to like fill in these giant shoes. It's more like her kind of like proving herself in the here and now. And she seems like a little bit more confident in comparison to someone like Riju. Mm-hmm. And I think in terms of the story for this section, compared to the Zoro one, I think this one is a big step up. Just because in the Zoro one, and I said this in the last episode, it feels a little bit like you're the errand boy where someone tells you, oh, this person's upset, you have to go talk to them. And then you go talk to them, you sit through a little talking cutscene, and then they go to where they need to be for the next part of the story. And in this, it felt much more like, the narrative felt much more natural to why you're doing the things you're doing, because you show up to this random town claiming to be someone in a hood, claiming to be like, oh, hey, I get rid of the rifts. So it makes sense that the chief and her advisor would be like, how do we know you're telling the truth? And Dona trusts you, but you have to go prove yourself. You have to go prove that you're willing to help. And I like that that's kind of like why you're going around and helping these people to show like, no, I'm actually here to help. You help some of their soldiers clear out some enemies and stuff. And I think that's pretty neat. And also as we'll get to the later part of the story, right before you get into the dungeon, it seems like the advisor is particularly intent on making sure that the chief doesn't trust you.
Oh yeah, that's a big element in the story in general that we haven't really talked about, but like sort of the echoes of people is kind of interesting.
The imposters.
Because we also get that with right and left, right? We're kind of freeing them as we go through or whatever. Yeah, that's kind of fun. It makes it I mean, what it does make it a little bit like, I don't know. I don't know if I needed it to be any other way, but it makes it less like, oh, these two characters have that sort of tension that I mentioned, and it's more like, oh, well, this character has been replaced by an evil doppelganger or whatever. So it makes it a little less it's got a little less bite to it, but nonetheless, I still feel like it's a very appropriate and simple and cute story that they got going.
This one, I felt like the imposter thing made it more believable. Because I also didn't even know that it was an imposter in the beginning. I was just kind of buying into the like, come on, I'm trustworthy. You can trust me. Donna gets it, right, Donna?
That's
and
true.
Donna's like, all right, we're gonna go prove it to you.
The name tipped off for me. Facet sounds like facade.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's an echo.
That's real sketchy.
That's not her fault. She has that name, you know.
But yeah, once you continue going through, it's revealed that's Facet was an imposter. And then she gets murked by Sierra, just like slices her up.
A good moment.
Cool. That was sick.
It's cool too, just like, I guess we've already kind of talked about them, but like just the Gerudo, like to see their like design in this type of setting was cool, you know. Like,
yeah,
the Zoras were cool and all, but we've sort of, you know, we've seen versions of that in various little 2D games and stuff, so it was kind of cool to see. We haven't seen Gerudo in that particular form, so I thought that was cool. So,
big time.
Gerudo Sanctum. We want to talk about that? This was a pretty cool dungeon, I thought. Yeah, I guess, you know what? Before we get into it, McKenna, what did you think about Gerudo Sanctum?
Definitely a step up
Mm-hmm.
from Jabul Waters. I like that that you got like the inside and the outside portions, which really made me use my map a lot. Just I think there's one puzzle in particular. I think it was an optional puzzle. I forget what's in the chest. Yes, but I remember being in the room next to it and seeing there's sand coming down from above. And I was like, I saw a spot outside that one of these little mole guys can get into. So cool. I really like that.
Yeah, I do wish that like that was a key or something like that. It would go back to I don't know if you're remembering like Wind Waker, all the dungeons where I was like, yeah, they just made it some goodie.
Yeah, all the cool puzzles and chests, the backtracky stuff is all just like optional goodies.
Yeah. Suthorn even had that a little bit where it's not even like super out of the way, but I'm like, just slip the key there. It's not too crazy, I don't think. I don't think this is me being like I'm not asking for it to be crazy, mighty complex, but the dungeon, I think they should have done it, but I think the dungeon does kind of have an interesting dungeon puzzle regardless. But Corey, was there anything else about the dungeon that kind of stuck out to you?
This, I mean, I'm not done. This is hands down my favorite dungeon so far.
Okay.
I was really impressed by this dungeon. I thought it was super fun. Everything from the second you come in, because it's not like a lot of the other dungeons where it's like walk in through the front doors and it's like, oh, you can go this way, this way. There's two statues right at the beginning, and like, all right, go in. There's almost like a little break-in section. And
Mm-hmm.
since it's like a kind of got like a pyramid deserty theme, it almost reminded me of like an Indiana Jones type thing, breaking into a temple.
Oh
Similar,
yeah.
almost similar to um, Tears of the Kingdom Lightning Temple, kind of like that, where it's like you basically have like a narrowed
Yeah.
entry section to get in,
What's
and then
the
once it opens up,
what's the Oracle? What's the Oracle's dungeon?
um,
There's
oh,
one of them
I
is
know
Ancient
I was
Tomb,
thinking of it
and
too.
one of them is Explorer's Crypt.
Explorer's Crypt.
And I don't know which one is
Explorer's
which.
Crypt.
Yeah, Explorer's Crypt.
That's got kind of that vibe too.
This actually gives me vibes of both of those dungeons legitimately, because it's got that kind of like Indiana Jones. It's got some of those Indiana Jones exploring an ancient crypt type thing, but it also, like Ancient Tomb, you kind of have to go off on your own into the different sections of the dungeons, and like you said, McKenna, you go outside and there are multiple entrances you can come back in from. One of them is just like a little one of them is through a little window that's got a little secret rupee room. But other than that, it's like you get a sense of scale for this big temple, these big ruins. And it's got awesome puzzles and awesome thematics. The music, again, it's a banger. It's so
Mm-hmm.
good.
The music in all the different
Um,
regions we've talked about in this episode generally, like the Gerudo city
yep,
theme is very good. But sorry,
yep.
continue.
It just does. I don't know. It's everything. All the puzzles I loved. I love the 2D side-scrolling sections. It's got some areas where you need to use the mole to get down through certain like blocks of sand, and it's like
Oh
a
yeah.
one-way type thing because you can't go back up. And it's also got the big main puzzle where you have to drain. You get to a certain part where you take out a big cork and it like drains all the
That was
sand
cool.
so that you can access the big key room and the entrance to the boss. And the main one that I really loved, and I wish more dungeons would do stuff like this, is the puzzle where you need to get one echo of each statue, but there are multiple different statues available in
Mm-hmm.
the dungeon. And it's like it has a little hint, but it's not like, I don't know, because we've had instances, Goo, where you get to like a puzzle and it'll give you a little tablet hint or something, and it almost explains everything right away, right there. It
Mm-hmm.
would be like if you got to that room and it was like, get a bird statue and an elephant statue and bring up here. But it's like you need to bring up two specific offerings from this temple, and the hints are in different locations,
Mm-hmm.
and the echoes are in completely different locations too. So it just felt like a supernatural exploration. Like I need to find what the correct statue is to bring here and what the correct, you know, which where they actually are.
Yeah, yeah, big time. That was kind of the standout like puzzle feature to me. That was like, okay, there's like a little bit more, I guess, going on here. You can you could even brute force your way through that. There's not too many combinations. Actually, in fact, once I had one, I knew what one was. I think I just went back and I tried the other ones till I got it. But no, it was cool. That was a cool puzzle, especially like that's a good like again. Okay, I'm gonna bring up Dodongo's Cavern again because I did this one second. But to me, yeah, that's much better than you walk up to the stone tablet and it's like, yeah, do the put the bombs like here. Well, it doesn't. It says it a little bit more flowery, but it's like pretty much right where you have to do it. They're like, here is the spot to use the one item that we just gave you, and it's like that's a little frustrating. So I kind of knew that you're going to use the statues, but yeah, I thought that was cool. It was like you do use them actually for things other than that. You don't use them often in the game, but it was like closer to what I meant in the last video of like getting a unique dungeon item that can alter the dungeon, and it does gameplay slightly. You can use them at times, though not always. There's also quicksand. I guess we haven't really talked about quicksand at all, but it wasn't a big factor because I just had the accessory on. But McKenna, were you ever menaced by quicksand in this region or this dungeon or anything?
Not really.
Yeah.
I didn't feel it too terribly. I feel like every time I encountered it, I could just like run across pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Get to safety. Yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't too bad. There were some puzzles to get around it, but yeah. Overall, I would say I wouldn't say there's some dungeons after that I think I've enjoyed more, but of the 3 we've talked about, it's my favorite dungeon. Corey, it was yours.
Mm-hmm.
McKenna, how about you?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, we're all in agreement. Oh, there are some like...
I feel like...
Sorry, go ahead.
I think I'm thinking about the statues still. There's like...
Oh, yeah.
4? There are 4 statues available, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do think you could like... I made a point to not brute force it. However, one of them is the hawk, which when you first get to that, you definitely haven't had access to that yet. Because that's like way out of the way outside, you have to follow a path type thing. So it's still like you have to do some mental puzzling to at least figure out which I don't know. If I had tried at that point, I guess when I first got there with the statues I had, it wouldn't have worked.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I went into the next room, it still wouldn't have worked.
Right. No, you're right. You're right.
That was enough to make me be like, oh, let me try and figure out the puzzle the way that the dungeon wants me to solve it.
Yeah, I think it's an appropriate level.
I would be lying if I said that thought didn't cross my mind of being like, all right, let me just try all of my statues.
I assumed I went off and I assumed like I'm probably gonna need, I think I had like, I don't know how many I had, so I was like I probably will need another one. So it wasn't until I had the one that I did it, and I still afterwards, just to be like completionist, I still went to the other room just to see what was up. But no, I think that's like an appropriate level of cheesiness, like you still have to kind of go out of your way to solve it, and then like I almost felt like ooh, I did it. Like when I threw down the other one, like so it was. I'm also just a sucker for any dungeon where you go outside of the dungeon and then come back in. That's always so cool. That never gets old. Yeah, it was cool because it's like all like still world outside or whatever. Cool vibes. Yeah. Also, the dungeon had mini bosses. I guess you could call them, maybe not mini bosses, but I feel like you fight that Poe and it's like a little encounter, but you can kind of just, I don't know about you guys, but I just kind of killed it right away. It was not a big deal, but
Link is in this one though, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Similarly though, like Link, I just kind of killed Link pretty quick too. Link Echo or whatever is it. I don't know if it puts up much of a fight.
First time in the first dungeon, it was a little scary for me, but this one, I think this is when he splits into 3, right? And you get the bow as the reward. Yeah. I don't remember it being too difficult either, but I like the little Link fights. They're fun.
It is cool, like just in general, to be fighting Link is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a little scary.
Yeah.
How about, speaking of fights, how about Mogriff? Is that the boss's name?
Yeah.
This, I think I've said this about the first boss, but it's similar in that I feel like there's a couple different ways you can approach this boss. I mean, I'm sure that's true of all of them, but like this is one where I did it and then I did it again. One way was more just like traditional boss fight, like classic Zelda, because they drop like the things to give you sword fighter mode, and I did that. And then I did it another way where like I had some echoes I threw out, and it kind of changed the fight a little bit. But McKenna, what'd you think of this guy?
He was okay. Not my favorite. I actually had before we recorded, I was trying to remember what the boss was for this dungeon. I was like, what was it? And then I looked it up and I was like, what did I do in this fight? And I think I just dropped like boulders. I saw other people dropping statues and I was like, why didn't I do that?
Yeah.
Why didn't I use the thing that they gave me in the dungeon?
I used the statues.
That's where I was like, oh, this is the dungeon item. You can use other things, or it's kind of like the dungeon items, you know?
Yeah, just, drop some boulders, slashed him with some sword slashes. I think I probably used the bow too once he started flying.
Oh yeah. Do we think this guy is
a mole griffin?
Yeah, I think he's a magma.
Something like that.
A magma griffin?
I think he's a magma. Yeah.
Magriff?
Yeah, he's just like a super cool magma. Yeah. He didn't even seem like, I mean, he was fighting us, but you look at him and he doesn't seem like a bad
He's kind of funny looking
guy. Yeah. Like,
I liked Mogriff.
Yeah.
I was a big fan. I don't know what part of it is because I'm not sure. It just was not at all what I was expecting. I think I was expecting Landmola because when you talk to someone in the Oasis, they mentioned something offhand about be careful of Landmolas or whatever, and I was kind of going through it a little quickly, so I didn't fully register, but I was like, oh, Landmola's causing trouble? What does that mean? So I was kind of expecting it to be like a Landmola or a twin mold type thing coming up out of the ground, and it's just a big goofy mole.
Cool dude, yeah.
Yeah, cool dude. Then when he pops out after that phase and starts flying around, I was like, this is nuts.
Have you encountered a Landmola?
I did after the dungeon, yeah.
Okay, I still haven't. I generally know it's out there, but I don't know, I never encountered one. But
yeah, I did fight the Landmola.
Okay.
Yeah, I found one. It was like directly to the east of the town.
Okay. Well,
I found. I don't know if it's in different spots or whatever, but
yeah, Mogriff was cool. It was another one of those like just keeps you moving. It was like, it's fun to
one of those keep you on your toes bosses.
Not too.
Yeah, I basically
too
just. No, not too difficult. I basically did. It felt like it took. I don't know what it is. Some bosses I feel like I get rid of like that, and some bosses feel like they have an infinite amount of health, and it's either one or the other. Have you two experienced that? Because for some reason it's like sometimes I feel like, am I doing something inefficiently, or is it like, am I just not dealing enough damage? And then there are other bosses where it's like I get through it super quick.
I've definitely had.
And this was one where it took me. This was one where it felt like I was taking forever because, like, I did that. I used the statues. Basically just dodging the stuff until he charges at you, and then make him bonk on the statue. And then when he was flying in the air, I would switch to sword fighter mode and shoot him every now and then with arrows, and then wait till he charges and do the same thing, and then slash him. I felt like it took several times.
Yeah, there are a few times where I was like, I don't know if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I think that's the thing, is that it's sort of like a Link to the Past, where it's like there's like an efficient way to beat the boss, but you can do it in multiple ways.
Yeah. when I was doing
I like that.
Dream Dojo. Slight spoilers for Dream Dojo, but that's when I say like, oh, I fought the bosses again, because you can do a boss rush in those, and I've noticed that where it's like some of them I'm like, okay, I beat that one in 20 seconds and that one took 2 minutes. Like, I don't know if this is balanced, or like is there a like super strategy I'm missing? I don't know. I don't know.
No, I feel the same.
But overall, I think best dungeons so far. The 3. Cool area. Anything else, McKenna, you want to throw in about the Gerudo or the desert area before we get going?
Anything else? No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Probably more like side quests, but I think we'll get to that in a later video.
We're gonna have to just do like a best our favorite side quests or something.
Side quests. Yeah, we did similar to what we did for tiers.
Yeah, we'll
just come with a list or something.
Yeah, that'll be good. Do you want to talk about, actually, before we go, maybe the Hyrule Castle sort of section? Because I feel like it's not like a super long topic, right?
I'd be down.
Yeah. Okay. So
let's
beat the dungeon, then you can go. There's like what happens? A rift open? I don't even remember. Look, the story. I'm not clear on the details.
I think another big rift opens up in Hyrule
all
Castle.
Of Castletown gets.
That's right.
Up.
Yeah.
So you
get the cutscene from that trailer, where the rift is going through the whole town, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you go and you sort of do this Hyrule Castle rift area, which is kind of like a dungeon in itself, right? Like,
it's kind of. I feel like I would kind of count it as a dungeon.
It's
pretty dungeony.
It's like
puzzles
previous,
or combat, right?
Like mid-game Hyrule Castles, where it's more.
So
it's a lot of
to the
enemies
past type.
Yeah.
Link Between Worlds. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys.
It was fun to go through. And just like seeing the sort of Hyrule Castle, like, that was cool. But I guess getting to fight Ganon again was pretty cool.
That was exciting. I didn't expect it, and it was fun. It was cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just in general, I sort of like the overall implications of this. Like, instead of like they've had similar things, right? Where like in A Link Between Worlds, like Ganon was there, but he wasn't. He was sort of this like, just like, he's this beast puppet, you know.
It was him, but he was basically just being used.
And that's kind of what's going on here, but I feel like it's there's something more interesting about it to me. I don't know what it is. Maybe I don't know. I can't quite. Maybe it's because the force behind him is just like, it seems like a more supernatural type force.
Yeah,
kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's not just. It's different from A Link Between Worlds, because that's literally just a guy who's like, I'm gonna resurrect Ganon, I'm the bad guy, you know.
I'm Ganon, basically.
There's this I'm Ganon now. But you get you kind of get the sense, and thinking about it, when we've seen Ganon in this game, he's had the red eyes. You kind of get the sense that this Ganon might be an echo, or is at least like under control of something else, and you get a little glimpse of a something.
That is, that's cool.
Very spooky.
Scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a cool area overall. It was less like we're not doing like a whole big like puzzle gimmick. It was more of like this. It did remind me more of like if the Still Worlds were a dungeon or something, you know, where it's like you're kind of going through these areas, taking on these things. But I
will say, I died to Ganon several times. I had to retry that fight multiple times.
Do you like playing?
You're playing on hero mode, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, how has the hero mode experience been for you overall?
I always like prefer it because that's something that in Zelda games in general, I sometimes they tend to lean more towards the too easy than the too hard, and I always want it to be more challenging. So that's at least a little. It's not a super complex way to solve that issue, but it just making it so that you die more often and making it makes the fights more strategic and feel like they have a little bit more stakes because I died multiple times to this fight. And it actually now that I'm getting into the later game, is making me be like I got to stock up on some smoothies. You know.
So you're finding
Because
smoothies
the fairies, yeah, well, mostly just for the health benefits, like filling up all of my hearts, and the I when I harvested all the mangoes from that mini game, those make really good like defensive smoothies where you take less damage, which is super helpful. But I've found that fairies, as useful as they are not nearly as overpowered as in some other games. It's still like they heal you right up, but they don't do very much. You know, if I have plenty of heart containers and they do not fill up that many heart containers.
I don't like Breath of the Wild.
It's yeah, I like that mechanic, yeah. It's a good balance, I think.
I used up some smoothies in that fight.
So I like you know, now it's fine to be Zelda. You know, that's cool. And you get the I guess fit check. You get the like fit princess check. Outfit. How have you all been dressing? Like McKenna, I've just been wearing the hood. Like I like the look of it, and
just the hood.
I like the hood. Yeah, I think it's a cool, unique new design from the game, and there's something about when you just get like the dress, the princess attire. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's cool and all, but like, I've seen that
ponytail.
Yeah, I think the ponytail is really cute. So I think when I've been getting new outfits, I've just switched into that outfit and worn it for a while. And I also scanned some amiibo. I got 3 amiibo outfits, and there's one outfit that's a blue version of like the classic princess outfit in this game. So that's after I scanned that was like my main outfit because I really like it.
I gotta scan some amiibo. That's true.
When I got the ponytail outfit, I loved it and I wore it for a little bit, and then I had I told you two that I got the red tunic from the amiibo, so I was wearing Link's red tunic for a while. And then there are a couple other outfits that you get in the game from some side quests and stuff that I was wearing. I don't know if I want to. Have you two done a lot of those?
Yeah.
Where you get outfits as a reward?
I've done a couple, but that's like I don't have a lot of outfits, to be honest.
So I did. There's one that you get in Gerudo Town. It's like a set of pajamas.
Love those.
That's very nice.
Yeah, I love her hair is just completely down.
Yeah. I was wearing the silk pajamas for a while.
But I don't wear those around. Cute. I'm like, I don't feel right wearing pajamas all over the place.
Oh, it's awesome.
I'll switch into them when I get in bed.
And then
that's good.
Yeah. And then there's one that you get in Kakariko. That's part of the side quest there. The kitty cat outfit.
Oh yeah.
That's
all I got
great.
though.
That's one of the top ones.
So I have those.
That's all you got?
I think cats could be a whole video. We just have a cats video.
Yeah.
I gotta talk to more of them. They'll let you talk to cats. But there is one more that I got that is a reward for a side quest that I have been wearing. It's kind of been my main one since I got it.
I have one too, but it's
I
just
won't spoil
another
that one.
Okay, yeah. Okay, won't spoil. Well, great. Oh, one other part I really liked in that Hyrule Castle part too is when the general shows up and he's got he's got to like rally the troops a little bit. I was like, that's a cool little character moment where he's like, they don't believe it's him or whatever because of the echo thing, and then like there's this moment of chaos and it shows his leadership skills because he immediately is like, what are you guys standing around for? We got to get to it. And he takes command of the situation. I was like, that was fun. That was a fun little character moment. Yeah. But now, so we're all good. Like Hyrule's back to normal. We've got some rifts, like more large rifts, which are, our next destinations to talk about. So it's the prime energy. We gotta go get the prime energy. And we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk more about those regions and quests and dungeons. But for now, thanks everyone for coming into the Echo Chamber. It was a lot of fun being in here with you. You're locked in here with us.
How does it feel?
We're imposters. Surprise.
Yeah, we're echoes actually.
We're just echoes. We're not real.
We should come in with red eyes, in future videos.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
All right. Let's get out of here. See you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.